much.
So coming along. Oh, not ready.
Not ready quite yet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I've got to get you to do a poem before you go. I haven't asked you that. Is that all right?
Yeah, we'll do a poem and manipulate people sort of interpretations of like the kind of, you know, the atmosphere of what you're trying to get at in the venue.
Exactly.
This is The Big Hands, and I wrote it after a conversation with a bus driver called Julian, who was driving the 436. Thank you for that conversation. You are in two hands. One gives you life, gives you joy, family and wine. One gives you good things to put into your body, and even better things that come out. One wants you to know who you are and act accordingly. One wants you to be a cog in a system that is bigger than being human, and one wants you to reap all the rewards of this. One doesn't point to something and expect you to see it fully from where they are. This one explains its perspective so you can see it for yourself. One accepts problems and that they exist. One then helps to fix the problem, and by doing so understands what is causing the pain. One wants you to grieve fully for all of your losses because it knows how to heal. One is kind to you and expects you to fulfill yourself. One wants you to work for your opinion and not be entitled to it. One wants you to be angry and annoyed, but not hold on to them. The other exploits you for gold, though you are made only of human. The other pits you against your own kinds and against it so that you become the individual that man wants you to be. The other behaves like a selfish king gagging for praise because even though you are obese or you smoke or you take drugs, there are hospitals to cure your illness. This one wants you dumbstruck. The other wants all of you. Its bite won't leave any of you for your own pleasure and or needs. The other only wants you to give and only receives. The other only gives to sustain getting more. One doesn't want to save you, but guide you through the falls. The other shoots you down, but claims itself as saviour. One wants discussion so that everybody gleans. The other wants arguments so that it can win. Jesus. One wants you to try and to fail. The other damns you for trying, slaughters you for failing. One guides you to art. The other gives you a product. One gives you a name, an invocation. The other gives you a label. One gives birth to a person, a nation, an entity, and the other goes to conquer it. One wants to better you. The other wants to beat you. One wants you to be fulfilled, and the other wants you to suck yourself dry. One wants you to live. The other wants to buy you. One wants you to be human, and the other wants you to be something entirely else.
Yes, that was excellent, man. Beautiful.
The big hands. Big hands.
Teige's big hands. That's wicked, man. Cheers. Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Perfect poem to accompany our conversation.
Absolutely. It would be hard for me to go and say it was this doctor's fault or this doctor's fault that my mum died, because ultimately they exist underneath all of that stuff. They exist underneath, you know, a huge institution of pharmaceutical companies running billions and trillions of pounds of profit all over the world. And as well as, you know, also being pawns in sort of politics and government kind of policy bollocks, which really the NHS should be able to go to the government and say, we need this, and it's not questioned. Otherwise it's a political decision. when actually healthcare is separate from politics,
Question
or
of
should be rather.
there's that question of who's more responsible.
So the system's not broken; it's perfectly doing exactly what it wants to do, what it's designed to do, which is to capitalise everything on the from everything on the human experience.
Do you trust doctors, Teige?
It's a difficult question, because to say I do and I don't wouldn't be the accurate way to say it. If I was having a heart attack right now, would I trust a doctor? Yes.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
And do I trust them when they say eat well, eat healthily, sleep well? Yes, because that's obviously evident. Where the distrust comes in for me is, so my mum was also at, I think she was definitely under the care of the people at the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital for a while in the chronic pain department, I believe.
Right.
Because she just had she got very bad carpal tunnel syndrome, which basically is something to do with a kind of it's some sort of deformity or defect, or the result of the sort of nerve endings becoming damaged, and in her wrist, and it was like seriously really really painful. She was in a lot of pain, and it was debilitating. She, for the last 10 years of her life, wasn't working, and you could see the effects that it was having on her as her whole being. And so she got put on these very very strong painkillers, and at the time was also playing around with prescription drugs bought off the internet, but the effect of her being put on strong pain medication to manage it, meant that she couldn't drive. It meant that she couldn't eat. She struggled to hold down jobs because of her condition. Sleeping became like a whole different thing for her, because it was like she could sleep if she wasn't in pain, but sometimes it would be so bad she couldn't sleep, and so her whole life just got kind of thrown up.
It's a nightmare when you can't sleep and you're on drugs and they're making you drowsy and you're in lots of pain. That's why you're taking the drugs.
And you can't sleep.
Yeah.
It was pretty awful. Mm-hmm. Like I was sort of fortunate in a sense that at the time I was at boarding school, and then for most of that period of her life I was at school, so I didn't really get to see it fully in the flesh, and I'm glad I didn't, because I don't think I could have dealt with it personally. And then what happened? So she got put on these medications and was on them for ages. And then we were living in this is one of the best parts about my mum, was that she's on benefits her whole life. Not her whole life, but so she was on benefits for large periods of her life, and she really knew how to kind of get the most out of it. And so somehow we managed to end up in a house, a Muse house, just off Gloucester Road in South Kensington, that was totally paid for by the council. Beautiful house. It was worth like £1 million, and it was effectively a council house for the time we were there. And then the council decided that they were no longer going to continue supporting her there. Like, I think they were having cuts, so they had to cut the amount of rent that they could pay or something. And basically, for what we needed, it was we got moved out. My mum found us a place in Chiswick, and I think it was a combination of it was affordable for what we needed, basically. And in that period of time, she just went into massive decline. That was like the death knell, basically.
Right.
Because she could no longer drive. It was very isolating for her, because we were in, like, you know, we're on a Hogarth roundabout in Chiswick. That's quite a way out of where we, you know, her friends were, and like where all her kind of like life was in sort of like around sort of Chelsea, Kensington, Earls Court.
I totally understand. Yeah.
And it was, and then so imagine like you can't drive, and everything is really far away. The nearest bus stop, the bus comes once every half an hour, and it only goes into Hammersmith, so you have to change anyway. And to get to the tube, it's a 25-minute walk. To get to the overground, it's another 25. It's a 25-minute walk in the other direction. And she then got put on methadone, which is used mainly for people to come off heroin. And considering that there's almost no way that they could not have known that she was a heroin addict, and she got put on that. It's like, do I trust that side of the medical profession? I don't really trust a lot of pharmaceutical and the over insistence on pharmaceuticals over actual genuine treatment.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I don't. One of the areas I really don't trust, because it ultimately what that showed me is that there isn't potentially enough kind of empathy within doctors to really understand where their patients lie. It's like you should not be putting heroin addicts on basically synthetic opiates. There has to be a different and better way for it, because that is not the way. If you read Anthony Kiedis' autobiography, the lead singer of the Chili Peppers, he talks. He had an experience where he had I think some kind of, maybe he got a tooth knocked out or tooth chipped or something, and had to have emergency dental treatment, and that they put him on morphine, and that triggered a relapse when he'd been clean for 5 years. You know,
how many years did he lose from that, I wonder?
Yeah.
This like basic lack of care that we were talking about before. A lack of care, lack of knowledge, not reading somebody's medical records. I mean, I know my doctors never look at my medical records. I know they don't, because they ask me dumb questions that you have to tell them. And there's a short period of time in between every patient, and you can't expect them to troll through.
Exactly.
But when you've seen them for years, you do wish they'd actually remember you.
Yeah.
Like one gastroenterologist, I mean, how many people come in his office and say, look, I know what I've got SIBO. You argue with them for a year, tell them that they don't have it, and then I proved it through private testing, and then I told you what medications I needed, and I taught you how it all works.
Yeah.
How many people do that? He still talked to me as if none of that had happened the next time I saw him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, you're not really paying attention to people here. Because it was an embarrassing conversation for him the day I went in there with my private tests and went, look, I've been saying I've had SIBO for a long time, and look, it's off the charts.
It's fucking off the charts.
It's off the fucking charts.
Yeah.
And the drug you prescribe causes it.
Yeah.
So, but it had no impact on him. He didn't remember me.
He didn't remember. And it's like, I wonder how much that is, because I've had similar kind of experiences with a lot of health practitioners, both physical and mental, where it's really difficult to tell whether it's a lack of resources or a lack of empathy. And actually there is a kind of subsect where both of those are the same. Like they become intertwined, because if you have a lack of resources, so you have in healthcare, you have appointments that your GP is 10 minutes long, where you have one GP looking after 400 people. you have, or I'm not entirely sure. I'd be interested to see what the statistics are between how many doctors there are for 100,000 people of the population. I guess we're probably quite lucky that we still probably do have a higher number than a lot of other countries. However, it used to be a lot better. It used to be so much better. I have personally found, like, I'll talk with mental health, that the care that I've received from the NHS has been totally inadequate. And I used to go and see NHS counsellors when I was younger, and I did when I had my breakdown at 11. But that was the last time I ever went to the NHS for mental health, because the care was just so inadequate. And at that point, what I felt like it was none of it seemed to just ever help. And maybe that was partly because of my own self, and you have to kind of be willing to help yourself. What I also found in comparison with that, was a real lack of empathy, and it seems really difficult to find a counsellor who can genuinely, in a very authentic way, be empathetic towards you, because they're also, each counsellor is not has their own sort of way of being, way of doing things, and that should be encouraged. But what I found was that I was being lumped with people who just weren't the right person. It was not the right approach to take. I've been performing for, how's it been, like about 10 years now. The most important thing I can do is put myself in the spaces where I'm doing those things, and given the option to perform and get out there. And then it's the confidence in yourself to fucking just trust yourself that you're gonna be okay no matter what. And actually, any feelings of kind of rejection or people not agreeing with it, or not having a good reception, it just doesn't matter. The most important thing I've done to kind of improve that, or improve my performance skill, and also just my life in general, was just getting up and doing it. Just get up on the mic, do it. Don't think about it too much before you get up there. You get up and you get yourself into a state where you're totally present in mind and body, and you give it your all. If it doesn't click, hey, it's all good. Each one is different. Each one is beautiful and unique in its own way.
Good night, sir. Enjoy your evening at, what play is it?
I have no idea.
You have no idea, but your godmother's in it.
My godmother's in it. I have no idea what it's about or what it's called, but maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, you're going fresh. Nice one. Cheers, geezer. See you soon. Bye-bye. We'll have you back.
I'll be back.
Lyme's disease and SIBO are threatening my speech, so I'm writing an evolving health guide and asking for donations in order to fund treatment. The links are below. Cheers!